Now, the MSU Federal Credit Union Coaches Show.
I don't think it'll sink in until I actually leave this office and I go home and I see my husband and he's going, uh-oh, you know, what are you doing?
The way to bounce back for us is make sure that we're real tight on the basics. There's some things we can do better. You always need enthusiasm in college hockey. Make sure that's still there. We don't lose sight of that.
It's not like these guys don't go hard and play hard and practice hard. We just kind of forgot the meat and potatoes of what we have to do.
Hello and welcome to the Breslin Center, where Michigan State's basketball team saw its 9-game winning streak come to an end this past Saturday against Northwestern. It was a loss that Tom Izzo said he saw coming and even made a point to say after the game that they were living on borrowed time. The Wildcats crashed the offensive boards and out-hustled MSU for loose balls, but there was one bright spot, and that was the play of Julius Marble. The 6'9" junior had a career-high performance. So our Nick Mantis decided to take a stroll with him on the floor where it all went down.
All right, Julius Marble. The big man on campus from Texas.
Yes, sir.
Guy who's got a smile that goes a mile.
Yeah.
When you think about how this year has been for you, what have you enjoyed the most about being back here in the Breslin and getting back to a little bit of normal?
Probably the fans. I mean, we missed them a lot last year. It was kind of tough getting up for games, especially you know, seeing the cardboard cutouts. Now I'm seeing people in the stands, so it feels great seeing them back.
When you think about the energy that goes into this building, obviously you got the Izzo, you got people who have been here for generations of seeing Spartans, seeing Spartan big men like you dominate down low. What does it mean to you to kind of carry on that tradition that guys like X who came before you?
Tillman with the two-hand flush.
You can kind of say Miles Bridges filled that role as well.
Bridges has Winston with him. Winston Bridges!
And now you have that responsibility to kind of have that Spartan dog mentality when it comes to big playing in a post.
I mean, it's an honor. You know, they paved the way for guys like me. I just follow their blueprint a little bit and use it and create my own path. And I'm just grateful that they were so successful, and I could just use that as a blueprint to set me up for everything.
Your transition from Dallas, Texas to East Lansing, obviously we all want to talk about the snow and how things have been changing for the years that you've been here already, but what is the culture shock at all in the difference between Dallas and here?
At first it was a little bit crazy, just certain things, certain lingo, I guess you would say. It was totally different from Michigan and Texas, but after a while I fit in like a glove, you know, great teammates, great coaching staff, so it wasn't too hard to fit in.
What do you think has been one of the hardest things that you've had to go through when it came to being here?
Probably death of my father. That was going into my sophomore year. You know, he's an instrumental part of everything I did basketball-wise. He set me up with everything when I was younger. He always went to my games, took me to practice. So to not have him last year, it was a bit rough. But you know, I had my teammates help me out. My mom and my sister were huge in that. It took a minute, it took a while, but you know, I got better from it. I honestly started with this. My mom gave me this as a Christmas present, as his ashes in it. So every time I wake up, I look in the mirror, I look at him, and I think about him every day. Think about what he would say, what he would want me to do, how he would want me to go about doing certain things, and just live out the day as best as I can. Because when it first happened, I felt like I didn't really want to do too much. I was just a little bit stagnant, and now I'm moving all around. I'm making friends. You know, I'm getting better at basketball and staying more focused on certain things. I think his death allowed me to really put things in perspective and try and do things for him.
What's the one show that you cannot get enough of right now?
Right now, I started White Collar. It's a pretty old show, I would say.
That's a good one.
My dad used to watch it a couple years back, so I was like, you know what, why not? So I started watching it, and I'm really hooked on it right now.
Are you all the way through it, or are you kind of
I'm on season 2 right now.
Okay,
yeah.
All right.
So,
all right. Starting to get a little bit better.
Starting to get a little bit, yeah. Starting to get into it, yeah.
Good stuff. Julius, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
There's no doubt about it. The Spartans are going to need Marble to be on his A game like he was against the Wildcats come Friday in Madison. MSU has a late night date with Wisconsin, and when we come back, the boss man Tom Izzo is going to share his thoughts on having to face the 8th best team in all the land.
Tap into savings when you use your MSU Federal Credit Union Visa Signature Credit Card. The Visa Signature Credit Card gives you more cash back, like 3% cash back on groceries, 2% cash back on gas, travel, and universities, and 1% cash back on everything else. Simply tap to pay with your MSUFCU Visa Signature. It's fast, easy, and convenient. Tap to pay, get more cash back with the MSUFCU Visa Signature Credit Card.
Welcome back to the MSU Federal Credit Union Coaches Show.
There are some coaches who would dread the upcoming stretch that Michigan State's basketball team is about to embark on. They have 2 games on the road against 2 top 20 teams in Wisconsin and Illinois. But these are the stretches that Tom Izzo actually lives for, because no matter the outcome of the game, he is going to know exactly where his team stands. Friday night game at the Kohl Center, 9 o'clock tip. You're smiling right now, so that's good. I feel like you're,
Well, I think they'll be drinking beer from about 4 in the morning till the game time. The place will be rocking, that's the way it is. And you're right, it's an odd Friday night game, a late game. And I'm looking forward to it. I think that's what we need, get a good idea where we are, what we are. Wisconsin's good. They have some deficiency. They've shot 42% from the field. Not great. They've shot 29% from the 3. Not great. So, everybody has some things that are plus and minus, and we got to exploit the ones that are minuses, and we got to hold down the ones that are pluses.
What do you think of it too, like player like Brad Davison? He's kind of like an Aaron Kraft. He just never graduates.
Yeah, no, I think he's in his 6th year, 7th year. I don't know how many years he's been there, but he's getting his APR card, and not long. But he's starting to really play well. He's the one guy that has shot it well. And, of course, they have Johnny Davis, who just went off against Purdue and now has made a name for himself, as happens. But those 2 guys, one's been there forever. One's just coming out of the, he's maturing into what he's going to be. And so that's a pretty good 1-2 punch, I think Greg Gard has done a great job there with them. They're solid. They don't turn the ball over. They're averaging 7 turnovers a game, which is the lowest maybe in the country.
You pride yourself on being a tough team and playing hard. And so how can you try to make practices a little bit more physical? Because I know, you used to be really physical, but there are just certain things that you say you can't do these days. But how do you get the message across in that way to get tougher and be tougher?
Well, we're going to do them these days, so lawyers line up at the door, because we're going to do them these days. Mel borrowed us 2 football players. It's not like these guys don't go hard and play hard and practice hard. When you become more of an offensive team, in my humble opinion, it's offensive. We've just kind of forgot the meat and potatoes of what we have to do. So adjustments, and it is a softer society. It's a softer day and age, which means, you don't do things quite like you used to. There'll be no more football pads at practice. That was too much fun. People want to be boring these days. But in all honesty, we have a brutal schedule coming up in the next 2 weeks. It's absolutely brutal.
And you mentioned the football guys. They're on a little bit of a trial run. Scout team practicing, getting a feel for what you do as a coach and how you run your practices, what the team aspect is like. What have you liked from just having them around the last week or so?
Well, Keon's a kid we recruited here in both sports. Keon was a very good basketball player. He had 30 in a game. And Coach Tuck, he was down to us in Kansas, and he was going to play there. And Mel and I, talked about it early. We talked about it late. He was 100% for it. Our guys have loved to have him around. First of all, they come from a winning program. They know what it's like to win. They know what it's like to be in a disciplined program. And what they've brought is a little bit of the toughness that you come from football. That's why, for me, I've always loved football. They bring what I think we need. Now, is that going to come to fruition in the game. Not yet. I don't know when, but I think, I think Keon is a guy that definitely can play both. Malik is still a work in progress, and we'll see, but Keon's a phenomenal athlete, shoots it better, loves it, works on his game, as long as it doesn't hurt his academics or his football, because I think he's got a big future in it. Mel's let us borrow.
And then, how would you just define this next stretch in general? You could, I don't know if you want to call it a gauntlet, but it is the toughest part so far maybe of the Big Ten schedule that you've had to.
Oh, it's the toughest. I think it's going to be the toughest of any team in our league. If you really look at the teams we're going to play in the next 2-3 weeks, I mean, and it's just a steady diet of Friday, Tuesday, Saturday, Wednesday, Saturday. It's real now. Gauntlet, brutal. You can pick whatever you want to pick. It's not like it's a lot different than most years, but I'd say we're going to play the upper echelon on a more regular basis right now, and that's what I talked about before. I mean, I knew it was coming. There's no surprise, but me knowing it's coming, media, fans, players know it's coming, are two different things. It's the only advantage I get of being here a lot of years. Experience matters.
Well, good luck against Wisconsin on Friday night, and we'll see you next week.
Sounds good. Appreciate it. Nice setting.
I know. Well, I'm fitting in here because of the sense of, starting the tough stretch, the Big Ten, hoping to win a Big Ten title.
Yep, this place reminds you of that. A couple of nice little pieces of jewelry in here. Women always like jewelry, so that's good.
Yeah. Thanks, Tom. The Spartans last won a Big Ten title in 2020, and if they play well in Madison, they'll be on their way to another crown. The Spartans are just a half a game back of the Badgers for first place in the conference. And hey, speaking of the Big Ten, MSU's hockey team begins a brand new series at Mun Ice Arena on Friday night. And head coach Danton is going to share what he wants to see from his squad after the break.
Welcome back to the MSU Federal Credit Union Coaches Show.
This weekend, Michigan State's hockey team welcomes Ohio State to Mun Ice Arena for a 2-game series, and the Spartans are hoping to turn the tide. They've dropped their last 4 straight games, and in those 4 losses, they've also been without the services of their leading scorer, Mitchell Lewandowski, due to injury. It makes you wonder, how will they fill the void? Ian Kress sat down with Danton to get some answers.
I guess we'll just start with, obviously, this past weekend didn't go your way, but what are some of the things now you're working in practice to try to bounce back? Yeah, and I think that's the operative word is bouncing back. And if it's funny how fast things can change. You go back 2 weeks ago, and we were in the top 20 in the RPI, and we had a chance. And with a couple decent weekends, we probably would have stayed the same and moved up. And we lose a couple games in Minnesota and go to Wisconsin, and you know what, didn't get anything out of it. And I thought there was, even Saturday night there was something we could, but you do have to bounce back, and you have to figure that out. The way to bounce back for us is make sure that we're real tight on the basics. There's some things we can do better. We can play. Hey, you always need enthusiasm in college hockey. Make sure that's still there. We don't lose sight of that, and then really focus on the one game that's coming up, and it's Ohio State, and they're a heck of a team, and they're in battle for first place in the Big Ten.
Here's Lewandowski into the slot, shoots and scores! Michigan State wins it in overtime.
It's got to be tough, too, with the 4 losses you guys have had, not having a guy like Mitchell Lewandowski out there. Just what does he bring to the team when he is out there, and what are you missing when he's not? Mitch
is a big part of our team, and we knew that with him coming back this year. And it's no secret we're 9-4-1 with him in the lineup, and we're 2-10 with him out of the lineup. But then you look at what the intangibles are. Certainly his scoring is one thing, but then the other part of it that maybe you don't notice as much is it moves everybody up in the lineup into a little bit of a different position and kind of changes the order of some things. So, that makes it harder. Now guys have to jump into his spot on the power play. He also does an excellent job defensively for us. He's our highest plus-minus guy, so now guys have to kind of jump into that role. And you know what? We've got some freshmen playing some big minutes and some other guys that might not have seen him. But That's the nature of sports, and guys do go down, and we hope that he comes back. But in the meantime, I think we've made some progress, and I think guys are getting that feel for it and the urgency and the importance of the minutes that we're replacing with him.
Obviously, he came back for a 5th year. Just when you look at his game overall, as someone who has played in the NHL, how do you see that translating into the next level, what he can do on the
Yeah, you know what? There's not a surplus of intelligence at any level of any sport, and hockey's no different than that. And Louis is an extremely smart player. Like, he understands the game. You know, some guys understand, you know, where they need to be on the ice. Other guys can play a 2-man game. Other guys can play a 3-man game. And I think he understands that in offensive theory and how to play. And, you know, plus he can really shoot and he can really pass. So, you know, he's got a lot of parts that'll get there. And I think he did a lot of work in the spring and summer, which is unfortunate that, you know, he's not playing right now, that we were seeing the results of that hard work. I think his speed was better. He's better when he's a slasher, when he's the first guy in the forecheck, and he was there. So he's a little faster, a little stronger, and, you know, I think he was setting himself up well. So we just need to get him healthy and 100%.
On the rush, back to Sassana. He shoots and scores. Went in the top left corner over the outstretched glove of Jared Moe.
Your captain, Dennis Sassana, just what has he brought to this team, and what has he just meant this season to kind of try to rally the guys when you are in a slump like this?
Yeah, well, you know, you mentioned that in terms of rallying the guys, and I would say the biggest, you know, Dennis did 2 things in the offseason. Is one, got himself in really, really good shape, and he can log a lot of minutes, and it doesn't affect him from Friday to Saturday. So, you know, for him, being as good a player as he is, the better shape he's in, the more we can play him. And the other part, where I think over the 4 years he's really grown is his leadership, and he's done an outstanding job with that. And, you know, we knew Dennis was going to be one of the captains, but talked to him in the spring about, hey, this needs to be your team now as a senior, and you need to start every decision you make needs to filter through a leadership type filter. And he's done a great job with it. You know, he backs it up by playing hard and working hard, and that allows you to be listened to. And so it's been fun to watch him progress that way.
How often does someone like Dennis just maybe call a player-only meeting, or do they do anything like that?
Well, they do, and that's it's funny because you have to kind of pick your spots with that. You don't want to be, you know, you definitely don't want to be overbearing as a player who's a captain, and you don't as a coach either. So we have to be careful when we pick our spots. But you know what? There's a certain time, and that's what you have to figure out, and you have to go through it. And you know, sometimes you have to make mistakes, and that's how coaching is. You know, you got to kind of fail forward and figure it out. But he's done a good job. He's grabbed the guys at certain times, and you know, certainly this week is one of those where, hey, it's a little bit of a gut check. We gotta bounce back, like you said earlier, and we gotta kind of plant that back foot and set ourselves straight and get something done moving forward.
The road doesn't get any easier for Michigan State after this weekend. Not only do they have to travel to number 11 Minnesota, but they will follow it up with a visit to Ann Arbor to take on number 3 Michigan. Those rivalry games are what every player and coach lives for. And in her 17 seasons at the helm of Michigan State's volleyball program, the annual Jam Jennison event was one of Kathy George's favorites. We're going to sit down with her when we come back.
Welcome back to the MSU Federal Credit Union Coaches Show.
It is hard to sum up 35 years of coaching into 1 or 2 single moments. But ever since last Friday, when longtime volleyball coach Kathy George announced her retirement from the sport, she has had a little bit more time to reflect on her experiences here in East Lansing. She spent 17 seasons at the helm coaching the volleyball program, and she is the all-time winningest coach in the program's history. But as you'll hear, this was not an easy decision for her to walk away.
I don't think it'll sink in until I actually leave this office and I go home and I see my husband and he's going, uh-oh, you know, what are you doing? But just kind of being here, I can go through the daily tasks right now, and I still have to close things out and get things ready. But yeah, it hasn't completely hit, but it's getting there each and every day. And you know, thinking about like what's next. It's very interesting.
Yeah. I know you said that you had journaled about it, you had prayed about it, you had read books about it, because this was a very difficult decision for you to make. Did you have a book that really?
No, it wasn't really any book in particular, but it was not really about to retire. It was about, you know, just getting fired up and getting ready to go. And I always think about those things and, you know, get myself ready. I do that every year. So it's something, this was not unique, but I think what I would journal about or what I would think about was a little different. typically it's all surrounding what are we doing with our team, and my thoughts kept coming back, what am I doing with my life, and can I do this thing the way I want to do it, and get myself, because I'm a highly passionate person, can I get myself there, and that was troubling to me. What it takes to do this job and do it at the level that it requires, I just kept struggling to get myself there, and I went back and forth I kept going back and forth every day, and that was kind of a struggle bus for me.
Yeah, and people, when they watch you or see you, most of the times it's at a press conference, or it's in a setting like this, or obviously at a game. But there's so much more that goes into your job and your duties as a coach.
Over the years, when I first started, which was many moons ago, but when I first started, it was, you had more access to your team, you had more time, like you could train that, you can work in the gym, you could see them all the time, and just, it was more about this smaller thing. It's become so big, it's become different. NCAA has changed tremendously. The way they look at what, coaches, players' roles are has changed, and it's just those things. And and I've been around for a long time, and I'm I'm an old school coach, and that sounds like a taboo word now, but I think it's the values that come from all that are always so very important to me, of what this job really is. The reason being a college athlete is so very important is the lessons learned in life, and you believe that as they start to kind of understand those things and start to become those things, winning is a byproduct. It's a byproduct of a very healthy, way of life. And what I believe is really important is a team culture of giving into each other, not making it all about you and what's going on. And those are things that have become less and less of what's being asked in this day. So I believe in those things.
Have you had time at all to reflect or think of where you want the program to go?
Oh, absolutely. I think that, well, first of all, I think that if you're in the top 8 in the conference, you can get 2 times we've had 8th place teams get in the Final Four. So when you talk about winning the conference championship, you're talking about winning a national championship. It's just, if you're talking being in the top 4 of the conference, you can talk about winning a national championship. I want this program to go to those places, and that's what I recruited these players to do. So for them to achieve those things, I want them to have the coach that can do that. And it's really from my heart that I'm doing this. It's not the thing for Kathy. This is not about Kathy. This is about them. This is about Michigan State. This is about knowing that, when your time is there, that it's time.
Naturally, George received a number of messages from her former players once they heard the news that she was going to be transitioning into this next journey of her life. She has been a pioneer of the sport, there's no question about that, and she surely is leaving her mark here in East Lansing. We hope you enjoyed this week's episode of the MSU Federal Credit Union Coaches Show. Have a great weekend.